Good afternoon. What we're going to share, I believe it's another piece in the puzzle that indicates that the last act in the drama is just before us. We are told in, I believe, Maranatha 174, that the world is stirred with the spirit of war. And Inspiration says, she concludes, she says, soon strife amongst the nations will break out with an intensity that we do not now anticipate. So a storm is coming, friends. A storm is coming relentless in its fury, and it becomes our duty to prepare. Before I pause and pray, and explain where we're going in this study, it's going to be a brief prophecy update study. I want to begin here, as Inspiration says, it's a sign that the prophecies of the 11th of Daniel have almost reached their final fulfillment. Now, do you know which two nations has the most nuclear weapons in the world? Two nations. It's Russia and America. China falls in third with nuclear weapons. But Russia and America are the highest nuclear weapons. Actually, it's Russia and then America. Now, I want you to see this. This is breaking. Just happened in the week. It says, U.S. seizes Russian-flagged oil tanker in Atlantic after 2-week pursuit. 2 weeks, America's pursuing this oil tank of Russia. And why they took it, by the way, it was Russians on board. Russians on board. Now, there is some argument whether Venezuela ship, Russian ship, but nonetheless, it's a ship that worked between Russia and Venezuela. It worked in between these two nations. Now, for America to seize a Russian oil tanker, this is not Venezuela they're dealing with. They're dealing with a nuclear carrying nation. What's startling, you're going to listen to Trump, you're going to get to Trump before I pause and pray. What's startling is that Trump knew what he was doing. When I say what he was doing, that there was a nuclear, see, as they were being pursued, what happened was they put up the Russian flag. See, when they came close to Venezuela, they put that Russian flag down. But when they were pursued by America, they put the Russian flag up. And they changed the name to its original name, I believe. And so, in a way, they were trying to deter America from the pursuit. For 2 weeks, America pursued them all the way from Venezuela to what is it? The Atlantic. So this is a very far chase. America chased the ship very far. But once those on board gave the message to Russia that we've been pursued by Americans, the command was given, put up the Russian flag. So it was given by Putin, put up the Russian flag. And not only that, Putin gave command to send a nuclear carrying submarine to come to its side, and also a warship to come to its side. Do you think that deterred Mr. President Donald J. Trump? No. I want you to see. It says, what we know about the U.S. seizure of Russian-flagged oil tanker, CNN. Let's go further. It says U.K. Now, I want you to understand that America was not alone in this. America could have done it alone. But just in case things went south, they wanted a NATO nation involved. So which nation came to America's assistance? The U.K. Just in case the thing went south and America and Russia went to blows there and there, then it was also a NATO nation involved. Therefore, it could have been NATO, a full-blown war with NATO and Russia. It says UK says it provided support to US seizure of Russian tanker. So you can see America never act alone. Never act alone. It continues, it says, Russia, now watch it. Look at, where's my date? January the 6th, 2026. Couple of days back. Russia sends submarine to escort tanker the US tried to seize off Venezuela. Now, do you understand this? Friends, do you understand how close America and Russia was to a war? One wrong move. America and Russia in full-blown war. Full-blown war. Listen.
We have learned the U.S. has seized 2 oil tankers just hours apart, including a Russian-flagged vessel, and tonight the new demand now coming in from the Kremlin. Authorities say both tankers are connected to Venezuela's oil trade. U.S. European Command says the Russian tanker was captured between Scotland and Iceland after spending weeks evading U.S. forces. And dramatic video tonight showing an elite Coast Guard team also boarding that second tanker, an oil tanker in the Caribbean. That ship is now being escorted to the U.S. And tonight, what the Trump administration is now saying about the Venezuelan oil.
Pause there. Trump was interviewed about that Russian tanker. You know what he said? When he was interviewed, he said, as I'm speaking to you, all that oil's been offloaded. In other words, we're taking all that oil. In the interview, he was asked, he said, we're taking all that oil. Now, Russia responded. I want you to see the response of our high official in Russia. I believe he's under the Deputy Secretary of Defense. Is this a low, the man that we're about to listen, is this your low position man, or does he have authority? He has authority. I want you to see what he says should be the response of Russia against America. Listen.
After the United States captured a Russian-flagged oil tanker, tensions quickly escalated as a senior Russian official issued an urgent and stern warning to Washington. The official cautioned that Moscow might consider a direct military response, even going so far as to raise the alarming possibility of a nuclear strike against the U.S. if the situation worsened. Alexei Zhuravlyov.
Did you hear that? He said even a nuclear strike against the United States of America. And he's going to explain, we're going to listen to him, he's going to tell us that an attack against a Russian ship is an attack against Russia.
Alexei Zhuravlyov, the deputy head of Russian Defense Committee, said that the U.S. is in a state of reckless euphoria of impunity after the arrest of Nicolas Maduro. Zhuravlyov said, quote, "We need to provide a military response, attack with torpedoes or sink a couple of American boats. This is nothing more than piracy. The seizure of a civilian vessel by the armed U.S. Navy. It is essentially the same as an attack on Russian territory, since the tanker was flying our national flag. There is no doubt that we must respond firmly and swiftly. Our military doctrine even envisages the use of nuclear weapons in response to such an attack, especially since, according to available information, a Russian submarine and some other Russian military ships were located somewhere near the vessel."
Did you hear that?
The United States.
Did you hear that? The man says there must be a military response to sink a couple of United States ships. And if it continues, then use nuclear weapons against them. That's the Deputy of Defense. Friends, this world is stirred with the spirit of war. I want you, before I pause and pray, I'm going to pause and pray here. Inspiration is clear that just before the 4 angels are let loose, we saw this last week, that there's going to be a strained, restless relation amongst the nations. We are seeing it now. Trump, in this interview, listen to what he has to say. He's going to talk, but at the conclusion of the interview, he talks about the nuclear, the submarine that was there, and the naval military ship that was protecting this oil tanker. And I want you to hear what he says, that he knew they were there, and he sent them in to take the oil tanker no matter what. Trouble.
Vladimir Putin, we did take out this Russian flag tanker along with Great Britain.
Right.
Tough decision, number one. Number two,
I didn't think it was a tough decision.
will you support...
Did you hear what he said? He said it was a tough, the interviewer says to him, it must be a tough decision to take a Russian oil tanker. He says, not a tough decision. In other words, that was easy to take it. That was fire. That is fire. And Putin said, should it go nuclear? He said there'll be no winners. In other words, if we're losing on the battlefield, we're using everything in our arsenal. He made it crystal clear that there will be no, in other words, Russia will not lose in and of itself.
The sanctions bill, I think there are 84 or 5 senators that want...
Yeah, they only do it if it's subject to me, and, I support it.
You support it?
I hope we don't have to use it. And, we have big sanctions on Russia right now.
No.
Russia's economy is very bad, but they are much bigger than Ukraine. They're much bigger more powerful country from that
Did
standpoint.
Vladimir call you after this tanker was seized?
I don't want to say that, but the fact is that the Russian ships, it was a submarine and a destroyer, they both left very quickly when we arrived. And we took over the ship, and the oil is being unloaded right now.
Did you hear what he said? Even though they were there, a submarine, and we came anyway and we took the ship. And all their oil now has been offloaded. Like, do you know what is that called? The Monroe Doctrine. That we're going to gain control. And nothing stopping us. Monroe Doctrine. The question was asked, Trump comments on whether he would attempt to kidnap Putin. Friends, I tell you, trouble. 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 To imagine you kidnap a president of a nuclear nation. That is trouble. Literally, that's madness.